back to Gallant Current Affairs and News Analysis. We have a lot to deal with today. Let's move on to our first topic. That is, in the last class I told you about there was a ban on imports in the case of laptops and tablets and all such. This ban was stayed till November 1 because there was a lot of issue going on at the present, because there was a lot of goods like electronic goods that is on the way en route to India. So in that context, some of the officials stationed at the port had to hold up the shipments of specific electronic items. This kind of created some complexities in the port area. Thus, because of that, our DGFT, Director General of Foreign Trade, has told about the suspending implementation of this notification until November 1. But on the long run, India still wants to create a production-linked initiative to develop its own warehouse and plans for the production and manufacturing of this electronic goods in India. Now that's a very small update on the news which I have already told you. Now moving on to today's news, we have a lesson that Hiroshima must not drift away. This is actually a point of view of the author, but the majority for a UPSC aspirant like us, we need to go through some 4 key areas which we need to understand from this article. The context of Hiroshima, Nagasaki and Hibakusha. Hibakusha is a person who is a survivor of this Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We should also take lessons of how these survivors, how this Hiroshima and Nagasaki is affecting the survivors physically and mentally. Also the present nuclear country. Now presently 9 countries have nuclear power. Now we have to deal with these 9 countries. Then present context of there is a nuclear threat from Russia. Also nuclear key terms or definitions of nuclear deterrence and nuclear threat. So these are the 4 which we need to cover from this article. So Hiroshima Nagasaki, as I have told you, Hiroshima was on August 6th and Nagasaki was on August 9th. And Hiroshima, uranium bomb called the Little Boy, codenamed as Little Boy, and in the case of Nagasaki, a plutonium implosion bomb nicknamed as Fat Man's was dropped by the United States on August 6th and August 9th of 1945. Now these are some of the pictures of how the nuclear warhead exploded. Now this is the face of a woman. This woman is a survivor of this Nagasaki and Hiroshima. She is called, or the victims or the survivors are called Hibakushas, because we need to take a lot of lessons from them and what they have been going on through centuries. Now the explosion resulted in firestorms in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In Hiroshima, about 80,000 people died. In Nagasaki, killing about 40,000 people, and many more. These are people who died instantaneously. Many more actually died due to explosion of radiation. These are called the black rains. And also there was a long-term effect because there was birth defects, there was increasing cancer because the radiation was already there. It created malnutrition, cancer and more and other illness. So people has been, for more than like years or decades, the people of Nagasaki and Hiroshima has been suffering. Now these Hibakushas, like, not only these are indiscriminate, because it doesn't indiscriminate between a civilian and a militant. So these are like, it affects the entire population of the city of or the country, not just to human beings. It affects others like our environmental. It contaminates the environment for decades, and it affects the radiations are felt for generations after generations. There are people still in Japan living with the consequences of this bombing, nuclear bombing. Now that is the first phase, so we need to cover it or know about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now I told you about 9 nuclear countries. 9 countries consist of P5, these are the permanent 5 members of United Nations Security Council, plus 4 other countries like India, Pakistan, Israel and North Korea. The P5 are Russia, United States, China, France and United Kingdom. See here, Russia has the highest number of nuclear warheads or nuclear arsenals in the world. Now, second in position is United States. Now there is a lot of heating tensions that is going on in Russia in the usage of nuclear. They are like threatening that they will use nuclear warheads if needed. Now there are 2 key terms which you need to know. One is nuclear deterrence and one is other is nuclear taboo. Now what is nuclear deterrence? By this, nuclear deterrence is actually a military doctrine in which we state that we won't use this first. It's more like possibility that we will, like we have, like in India we have nuclear war weapons and all. But the policy is that we won't use it first. We are not going to use it, we are only showing or portraying news, so to threaten the country that actually going to attack India, that we have nuclear technology, it's better you stay in your bay and not come and attack us, because if you attack us, whatever we are going to do back to you is going to be more severe than you attacking first. So it's a kind of nuclear deterrence or a policy that many of the countries stating that they won't use it. The possibility that the country will use a nuclear weapon in process is retaliation will deter an enemy from attacking. I have nuclear weapons, so it's better that you don't attack me. So that is the concept of nuclear deterrence. In India, we also have no first use policy, which means that if we won't attack any country first. Like the same policy China also has. We won't attack you first, but if you attack us, the retaliation will be much more. So that is one of the concepts which India has in case of nuclear deterrence. It's the underlying philosophy, as I told you, nuclear weapons are so destructive that no country would use them. It's kind of like threatening. This nuclear power has just to threaten other attacking country. Now what is nuclear taboo? Taboo, you know, it's like kind of a prohibition. It's a kind of prohibition. It's, as the author states, it's a consoling norm against the use of nuclear weapons, because these weapons are seen to beyond that pale that there are almost no circumstances in which their use is justified. The country which uses it, they don't want to kind of take the blame for it, because it's a very big humanitarian crisis if this goes. So it's a kind of taboo, it's a prohibition that countries has placed among themselves, that the use of nuclear tech for war is not good. Now these are the two key terms, and now we need to know the present context, because Russia is making loose talks that they are going to use a nuclear warhead if necessary. Now what if this condition goes to that extent, like Russia is in a very bad phase and they doesn't have any other opportunity than to use a nuclear warhead. Do you think this nuclear deterrence and nuclear taboos are going to stop Russia from using it? Because in 1945, after this bombing, we have seen a lot of victims go paid. We have seen a lot of humanitarian crisis taking because of this nuclear tech. Now the countries has formulated this nuclear deterrence and nuclear taboo, but still we pretty much came close to a nuclear war during the Cuban Missile Crisis. It was an ongoing period of Cold War in 1960s, 1990s till the disintegration of USSR. It was Cold War high time period, because we can state that the threat of nuclear attack was looming in the air. Almost 70,000 nuclear warhead weapons were scattered all around the globe. It was just dumb luck, as the author says. It was very just dumb luck that there was no nuclear war. It was just dumb luck. There's nuclear deterrence and nuclear taboo, even non-proliferation, nothing worked there. It was just dumb luck that these both countries did not come into terms of creating a war with nuclear warheads. Now, as I said, the Putin has prepared to use all weapon system necessary in order to counter that. The response of United States and NATO is that they will also be strong and commensurate measures against Russia, but they didn't specify that they might be using nuclear weapons or not. So this is all the present context. There are a lot of lessons we need to take from Japan and Hiroshima, because the thing is that we don't want that kind of situation happening again. With the ongoing war, this nuclear threat is just looming in the air and we can't predict if this is going to happen or not. So the thing which we need at this point to hear is that we take lessons from the Hiroshima and take lessons from what happened in Japan. Now moving on to our next topic, we have America pursuit to Saudi Israel rapprochement. So I will be telling you in detail what is this article totally about. The US ambition, the US actually wants to reconcile two regional powers. Like in the Middle East we have Israel and Saudi Arabia. What the US wants to do is that US wants to reconcile between these both powers, so that US can still remain as one of the powerhouse or the power play in the global sphere. Now, but US has a lot of challenge when it comes to face like facing US ambition in the West Asia. Now, there are like two powers. In Israel, we know Mr. Netanyahu is heading, and in Saudi, we have MBS Mohammed bin Salim. These both are now the leaders of Israel and Saudi Arabia, respectively. Mr. Netanyahu heads an extremely right-wing coalition. Now, Mr. Netanyahu actually wants to make territorial expansion to the West Bank area, Palestine area, and recently we have seen in news that they have put up laws and legislation that is undermining the judiciary and the democracy. Now, these both are against the US will. Now, US strongly oppose both these actions which is done by the present Israeli government. In the case of Saudi Arabia, the prince want to like there is issues between the Saudi and the USA in case like Jamal Khashoggi murder, and Saudi Arabia kind of want to emerge as one of the global powers as well. The Jamal Khashoggi is actually a journalist in Saudi Arabia. He was killed by the Saudi Arabia, and is told that it was directly ordered by the Saudi Crown Prince, because this journalist was writing oppressive policies of what was happening, oppressive news about what operations are undertaken in Saudi Arabia. So they want to kind of eliminate this man. So now this brings out questions of humanitarian crisis and stuff. So now between US and Saudi, this is a small issue. Now there are more than this. Individually there are other problems, like Saudi reconciled with his arch enemy Iran through the Chinese mediation. Now Saudi are Sunnis and Iran are Shia Muslims. So there is always controversies going on between these two sects. Now because of Chinese mediation, these two came closer. There is no role for USA in this. Also in the case of Saudi-Russia cooperation along with OPEC Plus, means Organization for the Petroleum Exporting Countries, these actually regulate the oil prices all over the globe. So there was a recent collaboration of Saudi and Russia as well. The problem with US is that there is a growing influence of Russia and China in the Saudi-Israel area. Now this is actually threatening USA and weakening or undermining its power or influence over this area. So these are some of the challenges that US currently face. Saudi initiatives. Now the only one victory that US had here was the signing of Abraham Accords in 2020. The Abraham Accords mainly is signed between countries like UAE, Bahrain, recognizing Israel as a proper country. Now this was followed by other countries like Morocco and Sudan as well. This is one of the major victories that the US had in this decade, not just countering the Chinese and Russian influence here. And also the Saudis, now the US want to actually put up a campaign through which the Saudis and Israelis come together. So if they actually collaborate together, US can say that this is done by them, and it would actually help them in the election process as well. I will tell you how that happens. Now presently Saudi is also interested in this initiative to club commerce with Israel, but Saudi has put forward a pretty much conditions that the US wants it to do. Now include NATO like US security guarantees with the Saudi Arabia. The security guarantee with growing tensions and all, the Saudi Arabia wants a security guarantee that the NATO has, that the US has like NATO. Then they need access to advanced American weapons, and also approval for the acquisition of civilian nuclear technology. As I have told you, Saudi Arabia is not a nuclear tech country, wants to be a nuclear tech country, and also it wants Israel to follow its commitment of two-stage solution. So these are some of the conditions that has been put up by Saudi. Now what are there are like these three countries, the US, Saudi Arabia and Israel, has been working together on a lot of issues, but there are very much importance or differences, or like these three have different priorities. Now that is what I am going to tell you. The priority of US is that they want to drive the Chinese and Russian influence away from the Middle East, and also from the Jewish lobby of US. They want to win the election. There is a lobby within the US of Jews alone. So if they are going to reconcile or help this Saudi-Israel mediation, this will increase the favor of the Jewish lobby, so that there would be a high chance of winning the election. That is the priority of US, driving the Russia and US away from the Middle East and also winning the election. Priority of Saudi Arabia, it wants to emerge as a global power. So if they are getting access to Israeli technology and other things, they would grow up to be a very big power. Priority of Israel. Israel wanted to be accepted as a legitimate state in the Middle East. Now only a very few countries actually accept Israel to be a particular state. If this happens, by then Israel will have a lot of access to air and land access to Asia. It could actually better leverage of the economic opportunities in that area as well. Now this is the priority of Israel. Now what will be the global impact if all these powers get reconciled? There will be increased stability in this region, East region, but there is also problem of weakening of Palestine. If Israel gets in company with all the countries, Israel will say that not to support the Palestine cause, and could actually weaken the Palestine. Israel can coax other countries to not support Palestine. They could have also a positive impact on India. Like India has a very hard foreign policy when connected to both these countries because we don't want to upset both these countries. So there is always a lot of contradictions in India's foreign policy, but if these two countries come together, which means that we could freely enforce our foreign policy with both these countries. So that is what the author talks about in both these articles. Now, we have Inter-Service Organizations Bill. Now, this is a pretty much important bill. Before I tell you that, I would like to show you some things. You see, now we have presently some defense cooperation like we have Army, Navy and Air Force. These three services, these three different services are governed by three different service rules. We have Army Act, we have Navy Act, we have Air Force Act. Now, apart from these three service rules, we have some joint service commands in India. Like pretty much all of you would know the Joint Command at Andaman and Nicobar Islands. These are the tri-service, which means that in a single unit, the personnel of Army, Navy and Air Force comes together. There is also another tri-service command like Strategic Force Committee, Defense Intelligence Agency, Defense Cyber Agency and Defense Space Agency. These are other four types of tri-service commands that are still available. Now the problem here is that suppose I am an army officer, I am working under this Andaman and Nicobar Islands. This is a tri-service. There are persons from Army, Navy and Air Force. I did something bad, like I broke some rules, so some kind of disciplinary action has to be taken against me. But the commander of the tri-service sitting there is a person from Navy. He can't take any kind of disciplinary action against me because we both, like the Army and Navy, have separate service rules. So he would be obliged to send me back to the mainland India and send me back to the parent Army unit so that disciplinary action can be taken against me. Now there is a problem because he is a commander of the tri-service and he can't take a disciplinary action against me just because I have different service too. Now this bill deals with this issue totally. Now with this Inter-Service Organization Bill, the military commander, whoever, it can be a Navy commander, it can be Army commander, it can be Air Force commander, take disciplinary actions or others against a soldier regardless of the service I belong to. Now that is a very important key feature of this Inter-Service Organization Bill 2023. It also established a joint command, like where the theatre command, a joint theatre command, where all the three services come together. So we could have better exercise opportunity. There is coordination between all these three services, and also there will be much more efficient resource allocation and resource usage. So that is all about this Inter-Service Organization Bill. Now we are moving on to our prelims area. We have 7 to 8 topics, so let's cover it quickly. Kalbelia Dance. So Kalbelia Dance is famous dance by specifically Kalbelia tribe who is in Rajasthan. These Kalbelias are snake charming tribes. Now these are included as a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage site. Now this is prelims topic and also important area in our arts and culture. So it's important that like Kalbelia Dance, as it is in news, it is important you know at least some key features about it. It is generally performed a joyous celebration and it's an integral part of their Kalbelia culture. You can see this is the Kalbelia Dance. This is mainly performed by women, whereas men play instruments like pungi and all. You see here, the body of this female had tattoos and covered in them with specific type of ornaments. They always wear a black skirt and swirling in the way as a serpent swirl. So this dance portrays the movements like that or grace like that of a snake. So as I have told you, only women perform and men play instruments like pungi. This is the men playing a pungi, which actually instrument traditionally play to capture snakes. And this is another instrument like kanjari, which is also used. Now from the last part, this Kalbelia tribe were once a snake handlers, professionally a snake handlers. Now they have moved out of this and they get economic benefits from portraying their cultural dance like Kalbelia dance, Kalbelia music and all. They live a nomadic life and comes under the scheduled tribe. Now why is this dance, Kalbelia dance in use? Currently there is a national folk and tribal festival going on happening in Madhya Pradesh. This is from August 3rd to 5th. Now under this there are two groupings, one is called Utkarsh and the other is called Umesh. This Utkarsh deals with the tribal folk and expression, whereas the Unmesh deals with the tribal literature. So this is all you need to know about Kalbelia. It's important you know it's a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage site. This Kalbelia is performed by the tribals of Rajasthan. It's a part of their Kalbelia culture. Only women perform and men play instruments like pungi, khadriya and such. This is some of the basic things which you need to know. Moving on, we have an important cultivation methods called Kuruvai cultivation. This is a season cultivation where they cultivate rice. This is mainly during the Kuruvai season of Tamil Nadu. It's a short term lesser season between June to September. It's predominantly started in the onset of monsoon, which brings rainfall to this region. Now this is cultivated along the areas of Kaveri, and this entire cultivation actually depends upon the release of Kaveri water from the Mettur dam in Karnataka. So the issue in this news article, what it's talking about, that the Tamil Nadu government is asking the Karnataka government to release water from the Mettur dam because it's affecting their Kuruvai cultivation. Now this is the whole article about what you need to know is what is Kuruvai cultivation. Sometimes it could be asked in prelims like in which state does the Kuruvai cultivation takes place. You could be asked about the states, or you could be asked like Kuruvai cultivation is like which season of cultivation, what are the crops grown under it, the area it takes place. So these are some which can be asked from this prelims topic. Moving on, we have Manas Tiger Reserve in news. So recently there has been increase in tiger, especially in this Manas Tiger Reserve. But the problem here is that the number of staff has decreased by about 63%. Now that is how the Manas Tiger Reserve is in news. There has been increase in the population of tiger density in that Manas Tiger Reserve. Like it was a success of Project Tiger in this Manas Tiger Reserve, but there is a shortage of staff which is of very much big concern. This Manas Tiger is not only a national park, but it's also a Project Tiger Reserve, Project Elephant Reserve, Biosphere Reserve, as well as a UNESCO World Heritage Reserve. Now this is the Brahmaputra. Here is our Manas Park. Manas is not the only national park in Assam. There is Orang, Nameri, Dibra, Kaziranga. So these are some of the other national parks present in Assam. This is which you need to know particularly here. This is a very small news. Now we have Kattupalli Port. Kattupalli Port is a project which is proposed to expand port area between Chennai and Pulicat Lake. Now this project is mainly in the economically sensitive zone area of Tamil Nadu, and it is taken out by Adani Port. The thing they want here is to expand the shipyard and project from the presently 330 acres to about 6,101 acres. So if they are expanding, there has been a lot of coastal expansion. The people might be protesting because it kind of takes about 2,000 acres of sea is reclaimed. So a lot of environmental trouble is also portrayed in this Kattupalli Port. Now according to the EIA, an expansion could increase the coastal erosion at the rate of 16 meter per year. So I told you 2,000 acres into the sea is going to be expanded under this Kattupalli project. This would actually increase the coastal erosion rate by 16 meter per year. Also I told you like because of a lot of environmental threat, it is going to affect the fisherman's livelihood and all. So there is obviously protest from this local. So this project actually revises a master plan development of Kattupalli Port. It kind of involves accommodating all berths like multi-purpose cargoes, transloading, backup independent ports like craft and waste reception facilities. They want to actually create a global port, master plan development of Kattupalli Port. Now Kattupalli is not a major port, it's kind of a major port. They want to develop into globally a major port in India, and they also want to build some ship wrecking yard and repair yards here also. Recently a US ship docked here for repairs. So the main aim of the government is to turn Kattupalli Port into a major defense ship repair center as well. Given the strategic footprint, also the commercial expansion of the port, the Indian government wants to change Kattupalli Port into a major global defense ship repair ports. Not just for defense, it could also be repair for the commercial expansion, commercial ports also. Now moving on, we have a very small topic about the minimum age to contest polls. Now in India our voting age is 18 years, but the minimum age to conduct the Lok Sabha Legislative Assembly is 25 years, and to contest in Rajya Sabha and State Council is 30 years. If you are taking many other countries like Australia, Canada, USA, their voting age is equal to the age at which they could actually contest in the elections. So the parliamentary panel is saying that if the youth is mature enough to vote, the youth are also mature enough to contest in elections. But the EIC is on the field that the Election Commission of India feels that the Indian youth are not mature enough to contest in election. They have to be followed the age of 25 years in the case of Lok Sabha Legislative Assembly election and 30 years in the case of Rajya Sabha State Council election. You can see more about this talk in the future. Now this majority what is talking in this article. Now we have Digital Health Incentive Scheme. This scheme comes under the Aishwarya Bharat mission. So what this mission actually talks that if the institution or the hospital is digitalizing all their records, they might get an incentive up to 4 crore based on the number of digital health records that has been created and the number of digital health records that has been linked to Aishwarya Bharat health records. Now what is the benefits of this? Now you can earn intensive by digitalization. The institution, the hospitals can get money from that. Also, we can increase the efficiency in our healthcare services as all the digital information comes in together, all the health information comes in together. So it can be very easy for the doctors to diagnose as well. It could actually help us in building a robust healthcare service and improved quality service of care. These are some of the benefits of the Digital Health Incentive Scheme. So we have another topic. Recently, Ukraine bombed one of the Russian ports, Novorossiysk port of Russia, where this is a port through which a very important transshipment of oil and grains take place from from Russia to other countries. So the warship was wrecked with the help of water drones of Ukraine. This is mainly because Russia came out of this Black Sea Grain Initiative, which is mediated by UN, Turkey, Russia and Ukraine. I have told you about this Black Sea Grain Initiative a lot of times. So this is basically that. This is the Novorossiysk port of Russia. This has been recently targeted by a water drone or sea drone of Ukraine. You should be important to know this Novorossiysk port. They may ask that this Novorossiysk port belongs to which country and all. Is some questions we can actually expect from this. Now we have the FATF list. Pakistan passes bill to meet the FATF demand. So Pakistan has come on and off of this FATF list, the Financial Action Task Forces, several times. If you are looking at the timeline, Pakistan was added in 2008, it was taken in 2009, again it was added in 2012, 2013 and again it was removed. It was added again and recently it was removed again. So this is the journey of Pakistan with Financial Action Task Force. Pakistan passed a bill to tackle the money laundering. So we need to pass some kind of legislation so that we actually stay off the hook of FATF. In India, we have Prevention of Money Laundering Act, we have UAPA Act, we have also enforcement bodies like Enforcement Directorate to deal with this money laundering and all. Thus, India is following the policies or the guidelines given out by FATF. But this was not done in the case of Pakistan. After all these years, Pakistan is now passing a bill to tackle the money laundering or the terrorist financing that is happening in Pakistan right now. Now you need to know a basic about Financial Action Task Force. Now this was established by G7 countries. G7, the global 7, I remember it as World War II countries plus Canada. These are the G7 countries which was created in 1989. This body was created in 1989. There are 37 members plus 2 regional organizations like European Union plus Gulf Cooperation countries. Indonesia is an observer in this. There are totally 39 members, 37 countries plus 2 regional cooperation members like European Union and Gulf Cooperation Council. India also became an observer of FATF in 2006. We became the 34th member of FATF in 2010. We are a member of FATF. India is a member of FATF and we became a member in 2010. It was started by G7 countries in 1989. There are presently 37 members plus 2 regional corporations. It is headquartered at Paris. This headquarters of FATF is at Paris. The objective is to combat money laundering and terrorist finance. That is one of the major objectives of Financial Action Task Force. So some of the important things which you need to know about this article. So that is it. We have covered quite a few topics today. So I am not going to take any more questions because we are already running out of lot of time. So I will see you again tomorrow. Thank you and have a nice day. You can also get a PDF of this from our Telegram channel, Gallant IAS Official. Thank you.